Hello, Anavrin here with another commentary for HOTS for Heart of the Swarm. I've I was watching some of my old videos and I just realized that I sound very even now I sound very monotone, and the voice is really just deep and uninteresting, and it was probably like a lecture at school and people just fall asleep anyways. So I'll try to have more variance in my tone, but hopefully it won't just go back to the way it was when I'm not thinking about it constantly. So we have another game between myself, this time not against someone else, or not against. Wait, what? No, last one was me just playing by myself. This one is against Cheeto, and it was a game where I just failed hard, and the hard failing really cost me the game. The macro in this game for me wasn't too bad. Obviously, it's not perfect. Well, not obviously, but most things aren't perfect. But this game, it wasn't too bad. The decision making wasn't too bad, but the micro and the execution was really bad. And after watching this replay once and matching the feelings from playing inside this game to the feelings to watching that replay, was it sorted out a lot of problems, and I wanted to address these problems through a video, and hopefully you guys will learn something too, as there is a lot of friendly bantering going on in the chat, as we both arranged this game through the practice channel Gear in the Rear. You can find that in Hot's whatever Hot's chat channel called Gear in the Rear. So we see Cheeto going for a Nexus first, into a second pylon, then into a forge, and I'm like, okay, since I know that there's nothing in here, maybe he couldn't wall this off in time. So I decided to save money to make 6 lings and go for the extractor trick, as I want to get that queen out before I get my overlord out. As I did get a hatch down, and I'm sending a drone to get a third hatch. So in this game, the openings wasn't. It did make a little difference, but it definitely was not in the grand scheme of things, as this game, goes pretty long, as you saw in the timer. So I'm just waiting for these lings to go through, and yeah, so that's that. So you'll notice that I have 2 overlords positioned, one in the front and one in the base, so I can get maximum scouting, as I don't really like leaving overlords in my base. So the cannon just finishes up in time, and the buildings surprisingly do wall this off relatively well, as he did use the pylon to wall this off. I did not foresee this coming. So with these, and he decided to pull some probes, so that was a little damage done, that he transferred some probes from his main. And getting them to transfer and not mining is a little victory for me, but definitely not worth these 6 lings. I thought I sent these 6 lings into the main base, but apparently they just derped and they died. So I just lost 6 lings, and it was very not good for me, whereas I only got 1 probe kill. I would say the difference is that he's ahead by like maybe 75 minerals, because of the lost mining time and the 1 probe that I killed, and I'm behind in harvesters. He gets really sloppy here with the pylon block. I didn't even realize this, as I don't really concentrate on Protoss players, but in this cast I will concentrate on the Protoss when the time is necessary, i.e. the engagements. So, as you can see, I have optimal saturation with 16 drones. That's pretty cool. I pulled 2 of my queens to my natural because I saw these 2 zealots coming at me with this overlord. I think this will bite me in the butthole, because even though I queued up 1 queen, I'm still missing a bit of inject and sacrificing for some creep tumors. I definitely maybe could have, because this hatchery in the end doesn't get injected. So I am missing a lot of larvae, and I do try to keep making drones. I am obviously getting all my buildings now, as the opening did put me a little far behind, so I was forced to get all 3 of my gases at 6:30 instead of getting the standard 2 gas at 6 minutes. And the great thing about him doing the forge in the base is because I don't really get to see the forge. Like, say something on Cloud Kingdom, or if that's even in the map pool anymore, where your overlord is scouting their forge, like always because you're on the high ground, or you send a ling at their front and you see that the forge is upgrading. But now with this forge upgrading inside the base, you will have to be like me and send an overlord in the base, and most likely it will die if he has like 1 stalker, warps, and 1 stalker or whatever. So he opens up with a 4-gate pressure, as I do see that there were 2 gates in the front, and I do see a gate back here. Obviously I didn't see this gate here, as I just wanted to see if there was a robo at the natural or anything. And he decides to warp in some units, and knowing this, I do have my extra queens out at my 3rd base, with the creep relatively linking besides this ramp, and I can push out with creep on my natural, whereas I'm also getting my lair, and I have neglected the Evo chamber because I wanted to get my tech out first, like my layer first, and have some gas for roaches before I get upgrades or other gas things. But since I am on 4 gas right now, it would be optimal for me to throw down an Evo chamber right now, because as my gases, it is climbing a bit higher. If I keep making roaches because he keeps pressuring me, then I will still in the end have extra gas. So there's a force of, like, what is that? 6 stalkers and 3 zealots. That's 9 units. I have 2 transfuses on 3 queens and 4 roaches, and they don't really exactly get the job done right now, but they try. So I tried to get some damage tanked on the queens because I didn't plan on transfusing my queens. I planned on transfusing my roaches. So if I tank some damage on my queens and not get them killed, I can tank the maximum amount of damage in this engagement. And that's exactly what I did, and it went pretty well. I made 5 more roaches because I didn't know if the aggression would stop yet. And as soon as I know that, okay, he backed off, I start droning again. And so the units lost tab goes a little bit in favor of me because he did lose units. But if you remember, I killed 1 probe so far and 3 zealots. So the gas is still relatively untouched, unscathed for him. And I also saw the Stargate, so I really need to do something about this, and that is why I appreciated these 2 queens, because I didn't go straight for a high. Did I go straight for a Hydra Den? But I didn't get it as soon as like 9 minutes and 35 seconds. If I had a Hydra Den out right now, I would have to like make Hydras to defend against the Stargate units. But since I have 2 queens with at least a transfuse each, they can really ease the stress of Stargate units. So this Overlord is a little bit out of... Oh. Okay, actually I moved it back, right? I went in to see the base, and then I moved it back a bit so I wouldn't get it killed. And so this is a little bit of awkward time where I have a lot of supply just because they are on roaches. And the Harvester tab, it is heavily favoring me, because I did do those 11 drones right away as soon as I knew that I could hold off any pressure. Obviously, if he backed off and then came back right at me, I only made 11 drones, so I can start making more units. But obviously, he backed off and I didn't have to make units. I gotta stop saying obviously. I think I said that like 5 times already. So I am oversaturated in my main because I did rally this back into my main by an accident. And I am fully saturated here, so since I have 22 out of 24 and I saturate the gases, that will take 6 drones and it'll leave me at 16 drones at my 3rd, which is optimal. But now I have a little bit too many drones, and that is not very good. It's actually very bad for me to have extra drones, because I don't even if I plan to expand, the drones aren't going to be able to do anything until the expansion is finished. Sure, I could make buildings with these drones, but I would rather have units to pressure his third base, because that's usually how a matchup goes, is that off 2 base, Protoss try to do some pressure, and they keep Zerg suppressed on their 3 base while they get their third up. So that's what usually happens. So since I am suppressed on these 3 bases, I can't exactly use these drones to do any sort of efficient mining. And I am missing my macro hatch right now. And I decide, okay, since he has a Stargate, and he's probably making units from it, because I haven't seen a Stargate unit all game, besides like a Void Ray who killed my Overlord or something, I should start putting on some pressure before the Colossus come or before the High Templar come. Most likely it's Colossus. So I want to do a really, really big timing. And the problem this timing... I don't think I'm going to say anything yet, but we'll just go on with the game, as I'm still spreading out my creep, since Hydras don't begin with the speed upgrade. You have to get it first. So I would still want to have my units have a bit more mobility, because these 2 queens don't really need to transfuse anything yet, because the Stargate units haven't really pressured me. So I decided, okay, I'd rather just spread creep better. So I didn't kill this proxy pylon, and you would think that one pylon couldn't do a lot of damage, but it does, because as soon as if you attack, then the pylon could definitely warp in units to counterattack you if they have enough units to defend whatever attack you're putting up. So just a little thing to keep that in mind, as you do need to kill a proxy pylon. And since I have map control, I decided, okay, I should make another base, because I should expand, because I should use this map control to its fullest potential, and use this proxy pylon to warp into Zealous to deny this expansion. Obviously, if you think of it as a Protoss perspective, look at his vision. Like, he doesn't really have any vision at all, outside of his 3 bases, and that's usually what Protoss do. Usually they have a robo by now and have an observer, but his money is floating a bit high and his macro is getting a bit bad. They would be usually like teching to Colossus or something, because they know that they gave me an idea to make Hydras to counter their Stargate units like Void Rays, so they should be going for Colossus. But yeah, so that's why his money should be lower, and Colossus cost a lot of gas as well, so there we go. But look, if he only has his 3 bases of vision, if he didn't have this proxy pylon, I do not think it would be wise for him to warp in 2 zealots, or however many sort of zealots, walk all the way here just to deny this expansion that he doesn't even know is up. The only reason he knew it was up because I sent a drone there. So obviously, again, I just said obviously. So as a consequence, I lose my base, my expansion is delayed because I'm not allowed to get my expansion up without clearing this proxy pylon, and I have to move my entire army back to clear it. Obviously, I didn't need to, but if he warped in more units and I allocated maybe like 4 roaches to stop it, maybe he would warp in more and just like maybe mobile units like stalkers where they could get away. He almost loses his mothership core, which is whatever. He loses some energy on it from the time warp, which is great for me. And here I am with an army. So I have this army. I am still producing. Oh, okay, that's okay. Yeah, here's all the Hydras. So this is a large army. It is 165 supply to 126. I have a 39 supply lead. I have 2 less harvesters, so really I have a bit more army supply lead as well. 41, and I'm against this base with this SimCity setup, and he has this army, which if it was like a pro player doing the exact same build that Cheeto is doing, then I'm gonna be honest, he would probably have one Colossus by now and extend a Thermal Lance at least halfway finished. That is just whatever. I'm not bashing on Cheeto, I'm just saying if this would happen, then whatever. And if a pro player was doing refining my build, then I'm sure they would have my units out faster as well. I'm sure they wouldn't miss the macro hatch and get these units out as quick as possible. So, okay, so Cheeto has this army with 3 Void Rays, couple Stalkers, a couple Sentries with full energy, 4, and an Immortal. And I have little sprinkle of Roaches, little playpen of Zerglings, and a shit ton of Hydras. And the upgrades, since I have neglected them in the beginning, I am forced to get them now. They are not close to being finished, and the Hydra range I didn't finish either, because I want to hit a Hydra speed timing. So I have 5 range, and let's see how this goes on. So, before this fight even happens, actually let's just go on with this fight and see what happens. So I'm trying to get down this wall because it is making me fight him in a tight choke because of this SimCity, and I'm forced to dance around a little bit. And I will go back and address this issue, but I'm just trying to focus the gateways, trying to widen the choke so I can get a better engagement. And stuff is happening, and he does some force fields, and all of a sudden the supply is really skewered. Yeah, I've noticed that I've made even more drones than before. I had like around 67, I think. So now I have even more. 20, I'm not going to do math, but I have a lot more. And I have a slight supply lead. So really, I was a lot less in army supply than this guy now. Before, I was ahead of him in like 40 army supply. And now we are like sort of even, or I'm even a bit behind because I droned up a bit, so the supply is misleading. So these Hydras move speed are 2.81 off. This is 2.95, yeah. Okay, so Hydras are quicker, but they don't exactly run away from Stalkers as well. But I noticed that I can't fight this, and I try to run away. This poor queen who was trying to transfuse just dies. There's a Void Ray here that I decided to pick off. And for some reason, he backs off. Okay, and that reason is because he knows that I might have wanted to attack him again because I did destroy 2 gateways here. And I've worn down his force fields. And that was what I was doing. I started to send a lot of links. In fact, I used 37 links to go try to do some more pressure. But before we get into that, I want to go back in the replay and to before that engagement. Oh, it's right here. 12:40. Okay, so let's see this. The thing I noticed immediately in the replay was the cannons and the what is that called? Photon overcharge on the Nexus. So we're just going to look at these cannons and this Nexus and see how many times it shoots throughout this engagement, okay? So on faster speed, they are just fucking firing away on my shit. Like, that entire, like, 20, like, how long was that? From 12:40, it was, like, from, like, or whatever time it was, they were firing for a solid, like, good amount of time. And they have a lot of damage. So where's this damage exactly going? It's going all into my units. And that is really bad. As if I microed it a lot better, I don't think this outcome would be like this. Would be as bad as this, as I am forced away. His Void Rays are charged. I think I would actually be a lot far ahead. These cannons would be down, this pylon would be down, this gateway would be down, and maybe some of his units would be down as well. And I would be in a very advantageous position because he is only defending me with Sentry, Stalker, Immortal, Void Ray, and Mothership Core, all of which suck dick against Hydralisks. So why on earth did I get Raffle Stomped? So if we go back to before the engagement, this is what I needed to do, is that my Hydras don't have range yet, so they only have 5 range. So what do? I should keep the Roaches back, because the cannons, they do have 7 range. They outrange Hydras by 2 and Roaches by, I don't know, 4, or wait, 3. 3. And they don't, and links are just links. So what I should have done was just sort of do a slow push because I realize I can't get a good engagement on this Protoss army. Sure, I could walk around here and flank him. Actually, that would have been a great idea, but since I am using Hydras and I don't have a lot of buffering units to tank damage, only like a handful of roaches, I can't really do successful flanks that would end up well because I don't have enough tanking units. Hydras by themselves will just die to Gateway and Stargate units. So I'm really banking on these transfuses and these couple of units. So I really want to slow push this as like a sort of a sieging army. I should have held position with these Hydras, as I can attack these gateways without these cannons shooting at my Hydras. Because the only thing they were shooting at were my roaches at the moment. So they were just going ham on my buffering units, my tanking units. And these Hydras really didn't do anything. They were forced in this choke regardless, and these cannons keep wailing on my fucking Hydras. And it was actually pretty bad. So what I could have done was take maybe like 5-6 Hydras and right click a warp gate, take another 5-6 and target the other warp gate, and take another 5-6 and target this warp gate. And the cannons wouldn't, I would take minimal damage from the cannons. I would still kill the gateways relatively quick because Hydras do so much damage. And I would widen the choke, get all these cannons, and then engage his army. Obviously his army would be bigger. And instead of droning, which I did, and not make lings. If we go... Oh, I do make the lings, and then I make the drones after, I guess. I make 36 lings, and if I got all this shit out of the way, there would be only his Nexus, and his probe, and his mining probes, and his army. And when I reinforced with lings, they could easily surround the low energy sentries, which can't force field that many times, and Hydras, to keep wailing on his army and have my lings as the tanking unit, as well as doing DPS, because he essentially does not have any splash units. So that was a very, very big mess up. As you can see in the units lost tab, I am actually like almost 3 times. Okay, well, closer to 2 times now because that one void is fucking YOLO as fuck. But now I am establishing 5 bases, and I am really low on gas. Easily I could have made geysers to saturate this space. I made geysers on this space, which is what I should have done, obviously. And I'm still getting my upgrades. And as I said before, I try to spread my upgrades out. I honestly think more, and with every game I play, I should just go 3 Evo chambers, because lings and roaches and hydras and swarm host, they all need to work together. You can't go without lings. If you go lings, you can't go without roaches and hydras. If you go roaches and hydras, it is significantly better to have lings. Say like you have roach hydra and your opponent has immortals. So the immortals are going to target fire the roaches first because they're getting closest, and hydras are going to be behind them. If you don't have lings to tank the immortal shots, then your army is going to get butt fucked. And lings are always good for defending against Warp Prism harass and counterattacks by the Protoss, like DTs and shit. So to have an attack upgrade on lings is very, very good, because you need to kill those units as quick as possible. Maybe I would think maybe even it would probably even pay off in the long run, because you need to use less lings to get whatever job it is that you need to get done. So I strongly believe in getting 3 EO chambers. I haven't gotten yet, and I probably won't get it yet. Maybe I might experiment it with a couple times, but as of now, whatever. Let's go on with this game. So he's taking out map presence, and he's probably going to push back all of my vision. As you see, I have a lot of vision right now. Well, not that much, but I am pretty far spread out in the map. And he is just going to, I guess, deny my vision or whatever. And since he has map control, it's his time to expand. Whereas I'm trying to clean my butthole from the rape I've just experienced. Which was solely my fault, honestly. I think I could have, if I was a lot more knowledgeable in that situation, I could have definitely gotten a better engagement off and better micro off. But as of then, I suck dick, so I'm forced to sit on this really shitty composition of Ling Hydra Corruptor, which goes against Colossus. But Void Rays with their charge actually just fucking completely shred Corruptors. So I'll try to engage him and then back off and run as soon as he starts his charge or whatever. But I don't think that's what happens. I don't quite remember what happens, but let's go on. So I have 4 Vipers here. Blinding Cloud is great for Protoss balls. It's obviously the best for mech, if you ever, or siege tanks or stuff, and Colossus too. So since he took a while getting clearing my creep, I still have vision as an army, and I decide to counterattack because I can't handle this going straight into my base. If he went straight into my base, I wouldn't know exactly what happened. Maybe I could have defended it, or probably I might have just sacked this base and killed his base, and then suddenly it'd be me 4 base versus his 3 base. So he's not actually in. He's not quite happy to make that trade yet. It would be, he would rather be on 4 base. So this fight happens, and my shit dies, and I Blinding Cloud, which actually forces him back. And it was actually a pretty big forcing back. But in the end, I am plummeting in supply, and he is not. And his Void Rays are just fucking going ham. So let's go back in the engagement. And obviously this engagement wasn't as significant as the last one, because this army is kind of really shitty against his. But you try to make it work as best you can, regardless. So let's go back to the engagement. I do have a couple Vipers. He only has 2 Colossus, but he has a shit ton of Void Rays. And I have Corruptors, Hydras, and Lings. And honestly, if I was to choose, I might even just go full on Hydra and fuck the Corruptors, but I think the Corruptors would definitely help me kill the Colossus faster, so maybe just like 4 Corruptors, as this is a new game, if I get some good abducts off. But obviously if he keeps his army in check and micros it well, then I can't really get abducts off, because he just keeps it in the back while his Void Rays just goes pew pew laser beams on my army. So I have Ling, Hydra, Corruptor, and Viper, which is actually pretty good against his army if he didn't have Colossus. But since he does have Colossus, that's a whole different story. So I have a potential for a huge fucking concave. Like from here, I can concave all the way to his base, and reinforcements would stream this way, and I would have like the best fucking concave. He couldn't even force field shit. But instead, I go full retard and have a clump of units, great for Colossus splash damage, by the way, and Lings that sort of got aggroed onto these buildings and not engaging this army. And these Vipers are still chilling in the back. These Vipers should be with the army, or at least at the same front, on the same front as the army. Like they should be as close to the Protoss army as the rest of my army, if that makes any fucking sense at all. And as a result, none of my Lings are tanking. Obviously, if I had some roaches, that would be great. I do some Blinding Cloud, which is really good. He does some Time Warp, which is also really good, because I can't fucking chase him as hard. And I should have just backed off right now and cut my losses, because I going against this army was not going to be favorable in the first place. I really just want to delay him getting this base. I should just kill this base and piece the fuck out. But instead, I sort of just lose a lot of my units. And he still has his 2 Colossus that really haven't died. Oh, this one only has 0 kills, and this one 4. I guess it's because of the Blinding Cloud that makes such a big difference. And I still have this base and this base. Hopefully it was, I should have mined gas. I think that pool of blood was from some units defending his zealots or whatever. And since he did the overcharge thing and he pops it again, I should definitely get the fuck out of there. But instead, I lose a lot, and I remax again on, you guessed it, shitty units, roaches and hydras. He's pushing me again, and he's also maxed out, and has his 4th base. Which, honestly, I would rather him have only 3 base because his main base is starting to get mined out. His natural is relatively low, and his third is still going on strong. And if I can get him on 3 base, then I can make sure he only resupplies with units and not delve too hard into tech and stuff like that. So instead, he comes at me. I have some spine crawlers to defend. Thank God, those things are really good for tanking, especially when you're using hydras. I do some blinding cloud, big waste, but again, I'm just sort of stalling until my army comes out. And once again, big fucking concave potential, right? Like fucking from here all the way to here, and from here all the way to here. But instead, I sort of trickled my units in, and they all get butt fucked. I don't have any more blinding cloud. Well, I guess I have one more. But my units just sort of die, and hydras by themselves, without any tanking units, just suck dick regardless. And even though I have money to max out again, which I do purely on roaches because I try to clean this army up, I still do a lot of damage to his army. That is because he walked in here without any force fields and only a time warp and not too much else. He only had like 3 Colossus or like 2, I don't even remember. And I do quite a bit of damage to his army, but it's fine for him because he can just re-max again. Imagine if I kept all these bases alive, 5 base against 3 base, and he had to re-max. It would probably take away his entire bank, but as a result, he still has his entire bank, and I'm pretty fucked. He has a bad Colossus rally. I don't think I see this. Wow. I definitely could have just killed you. And going Roach Hydra when he has 3 Colossus, like, that's pretty borderline dangerous. If I wasn't maxed out, or if he had like a couple more Colossus, I would be completely fucked. So, he does have a couple more Colossus, and I am forcing him back with Blinding Cloud. And once again, there is no reason for me to push here. My units are fucking, like, really weak. They need to burrow, they need to regen. He can easily reinforce right here with the next warpin. Like, one more warpin? Like, how many warp gates does he have? 6 warp gates. Okay. That's pretty bad, actually. Well, if he was, like, a better player, or if he had, I don't mean this in a bashing way, obviously. If he had more gateways quicker, then he obviously could have reinforced with, like, a lot more, over 10 units. Over 20 supply in an instant, and I would get butt fucked regardless. But instead, I do manage to push him back a bit, and it's sort of working against me as his army just sort of kills mine. He does do a warpin, and this warpin is enough as it sort of just cleans up my army, as his Colossus are in a very, very good position. I can't really chase them without Vipers, or negate their damage without Vipers or anything. And Zealots 3-3 are really fucking good against Spine Crawlers, which don't benefit against any Zerg upgrade. So keep in mind you might need to have roaches to tank the aggro. That would be best for late game War Prism harass instead of just spine crawlers. If you have just spine crawlers, make sure you have enough, or you have enough transfers, because I just fucking lost everything. So as this game goes on, I still have a massive bank, more than him, and that is because my macro was, honestly this game, my macro was great. My decision making was great. Regardless, like, sure, I would do better with a more costly army and an army that has more army value to it to combat his army. But in that position, I have to max out immediately. I have to get units now. I don't have any time to save energy or get infestors out or get broodlords out or anything, because if I don't get units out to defend my bases, he's just going to raffle stomp me. So in the end, my decision making was great. It's just that the execution and the micro and the engagements was very, very poor. And by this time, unless I get a miracle, I probably lose this game. And I say, oh fuck me, because I rallied 5 Vipers here. I thought I hotkeyed them, and I thought I rallied them somewhere in my base, but they sort of came here and they died. So that was pretty bad. Blinding Cloud has been saving my ass this entire game, but in the end, I will still lose the game as he comes in for a final death push. He's still maxed. It's a pretty small army. It's because he has a huge fucking probe count. Imagine if he didn't have this many probes and he had like a shit ton of more units, then I would be like dead right away. But as is, I can't even deal with this army with my army. And And yeah, I think he realizes his army is too small and he sort of sends off units, but I don't know. I tried to do a roach counterattack, but again, the SimCity's just fucking me up. And once again, the SimCity and the Concaves are just not good enough to combat this army, and Void Rays with the fucking charge just do so much damage. It's fucking insane. Like 0.5 attack speed? Like Hydras have 0.83, and like Hydras shoot fast, right? So fucking Void Rays with 7 damage on light and 17 with the upgrade on armored is like insane, and it will just shred up your corruptors, which don't have any upgrades except attack. So that's the replay, and I still am banking a shit ton of money, but I honestly don't have larva. Oh, I do have larva. Oh, fuck me. My injects are pretty bad because I was just really out of it as soon as I lost that first attack. I really wanted to win in this first attack, but I was forced to play this long game, and I couldn't really have... Essentially, I was only on 1 mining base, which was about to die, and this base as well, so... Whereas he was on 5 base, 3 mining bases, and I was pretty much fucked, as I can't kill this army, even though I had money. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this wasn't as boring as the other ones. I'll check myself, but hopefully you learned something. Macro and decision making isn't everything in StarCraft. Obviously there's much more, like mechanic wise, like micro and engagements and just quick thinking in general, and unit composition. So hopefully you learned something. I certainly did, because I had to fucking watch this replay and watch myself get my asshole tore apart. So without further ado, I will end this cast. Thanks.